Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 718. My opponent played d4 here, and I went with knight f6. Oh, by the way, my opponent this time is someone who's a good player, strong player, but who's also a fan of my channel, so it was interesting. We chatted a little bit during the game and also afterwards. So let's see, I'm just playing a Nimzo-Indian. We get the main line here, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. And here he plays f3. So this is a kind of a novel way of continuing. At least it's new to me. I haven't really faced this before. But you can see it's fairly popular in the database. The main moves here are the e3, the Rubinstein variation that I play. Queen c2, the classical, which seems to be the most popular at the top level. Also knight f3, the Kasparov variation, third choice. And then f3, the fourth choice. So, as often when I'm confronted with something new, I just put a pawn in the center and follow, classical development rules. But he said after the game he thought this c5 move was kind of interesting, so I wanted to take a look at that. Yeah, I have that here. So if you play c5, you get kind of a Benoni structure. White can push on with d5, say a castle here. b5 is an interesting option. b5 is exploiting the pin here and putting pressure on that c-pawn. Maybe an interesting alternative to the way to this main line here. e4 just building up this giant pawn wedge, d6, and slowing that down from penetrating any further into your camp. Knight to e2, defending this knight so the exchange here doesn't cost anything. And then maybe rook e8. This is about as far as I looked, but there's a number of ideas here. Rook e8, maybe followed by the exchange. b5 is still an idea here. That knight is still pinned. Knight to h5, interesting way to maneuver the knight around and look at some of these dark squares here. Maybe also with the idea of pushing the f-pawn forward and then bringing the knight back. Looks like white could kick that knight immediately with g4, but maybe white doesn't want to play in that fashion. And then just e takes d5 right away seems to be a move as well. So, different possible continuations for black from that position. Let's go back to the game. In the game I played d5. He went a3, kicking my bishop. I took, and all this looks pretty normal. And then I played b6. So b6 seems to be out of the book. Although, looking at this with the chess engine, the chess engine thinks black is doing fine along here, but maybe c5 right here is the most accurate move. Certainly it's top choice in the database. And say he takes, actually takes this way. It's the common way of taking. Take back with the knight. Taking with the pawn is still possible. And then going 2 pawns up. And, well, the line continues from here, but actually the way it's played, or the way the line goes in the opening book, white gets to keep the extra pawn, so white plays on a pawn up, but it's kind of a sad extra pawn, and it, those pawns can always be pressured, but, white can throw an e4 to kick the knight around, bishop e3 to defend this pawn, and oddly enough, queen takes c3 is not good. Queen takes c3, king f2. I looked at this with the chess engine, and it likes white here, so it may look funny with the king on f2. But, well, the king is out of the way of the bishop, so the bishop can come out, the knight can come out. There's no real development problems for white in this position. It seems to be perfectly safe there, whereas black is looking a little underdeveloped, and white will gain some tempos chasing the queen around. So the engine gives white an advantage here. So let's see, after bishop e3, the normal move here is just to castle. And then the game continues. Queen b3 now holding on to the pawn, and white plays on a pawn up, and I guess white looks for black. Black looks for compensation. Anyway, that would have been if I had played c5 right here. I played b6, and I'm building up to c5. We're going to get there. Let's see. He takes on d5 now, and I take back with the pawn. And, that's part of my idea, is to keep a pawn in the center. And maybe it seems like white's plan is to push the e-pawn forward, so I'm going to try and restrain that. So he settles on playing e3. I castle here. And then he goes bishop to d3. So it looks like all of this has been played before, although it's not the most common position in the opening book. And once again, c5 could be played here, but I was thinking, oh, let's keep that e-pawn backwards, so I put some pressure on that. He plays knight e2, and now I went with bishop b7. So we're really out of the opening book at this point. Bishop a6 is an interesting idea, though. He's got this dark squared pawn structure. Although it's flexible, he can push that forward, so this is not like a permanently bad bishop. But for the moment, this is his better bishop, and bishop to a6 here threatens to just trade it off. So that's an interesting idea. Let's go to the notation tab here. The chess engine likes the move c5 and thinks that I'm doing pretty well with that. But I'm doing okay with bishop b7 too. There are actually no big mistakes, and the game is all in the range of about even throughout this section. Now I go with c5. He goes knight g3. He's obviously building up to this e4 push. And I went knight bd7. So that seems to be a slight mistake. I gave that kind of a question mark move. It's not a blunder, but the knight is just better placed here on c6. We'll see in the game from d7 that the knight just doesn't have so many squares to go to. What I was thinking was that the knight here would block the bishop, but well, maybe the bishop wants to be on a different diagonal anyway, and also maybe the knight can move away, come around this way if necessary to get over to the king side. And in the meantime, it's on c6, it's putting a little more pressure on the center. So a slight mistake here with knight bd7, and it wastes a little bit of time as I try and reorganize that knight. He hops right in with knight f5, go queen c7, brings his queen to e1. So he's starting to build up for a king side attack. And this knight on f5 is going to be a great help to him. And so I try to bring my knight around to f8. This is what I meant about wasting a little time. I had to kind of move the rook out of the way to make room for the knight to come over to the king side. He lifts his rook up, rook to a2. I go rook to e6. I was worried about his knight coming in here and harassing me. And also, well, this rook has some defensive role along the third rank there. Let's see, he plays g4. He gets his attack going underway right away and no messing around. And now I go knight to g6. So he goes rook to g2, brings the rook all the way over. And I go rook a to e8. Maybe that's not the best square for the rook. The engine slightly prefers knight to e8 here. You know, the knight's going to get chased around. And when I play rook to e8, he pushes g5 immediately, and the knight goes to d7. So kind of a small difference. But well, this figures in a later move. It kind of contributes to my downfall. So he pushes on with h4, and you can see the pressure is building. Although I have to say the chess engine is pretty calm along here. It thinks white is better, but it thinks black is okay and can defend this position. So interesting. Let's see. I get the knight out of the way of the unrushing pawns with knight to e7, pushes on with h5, and I just trade off his knight, reducing the pressure. He takes back, and then I drop my rook back to e7. Once again, the engine has a slight preference for a different move here and wants to go rook to c6, not a move I considered at all, because once again I'm blocking my light squared bishop, which I thought I needed to sort of keep the pressure against e4. But it looks like white gets an attack going without even getting in that e4 move. So so maybe my concern over that push is I'm overemphasizing that, and so there's not such a big deal. And the rook on the 6th rank here gives me some more defense along this rank. So interesting way to play. Not a move I thought about at all. I went here, and he goes queen h4, so the attack is still building. And finally, I just crack under the pressure. I guess this is the only way to express it. I make the move f6 here. And what I was missing was the pin. The pin on this file means that he could just take that, and I can't take back. So pretty huge oversight. But it's not... so this position is still okay for black if you trust the chess engine. And there's some there are some ideas here. So I just wanted to illustrate that it's not completely hopeless. Although I think I should have played more actively earlier and not let white get this kind of build up. But even here, it's amazing the resources there are in chess. So knight to f8, I thought this was an interesting line. Not the most natural move, but well, it protects some of these squares, and the rooks stay active, and it's out of the way of the bishop and the queen. So it has that going for it. And f4 is the engine's suggestion. Then bishop to a6, hitting the rook. And what I liked about this is there's a possible blunder here for white. Just kind of sets a trap. If white plays the natural move, rook to f3, this loses. And if you want to take a second, maybe you'll see if you can figure out why this is a losing move. Okay, I'm giving the answer away now. The answer is pawn takes here on d4. And the funny thing is you can't take back. If white takes with this pawn, this bishop is lost, right? The bishop is loose on the back rank when that rook lifted. And if you take with this pawn, then the rooks come in here with check. And you can't block the check. I thought the rook could just drop back and block the check, but that doesn't work because the bishop is on that square. So things are really falling apart here. And actually this is a winning position for black all of a sudden. Now, of course, that rook e1 or rook f3 move was just a mistake, and the rook needs to move to the side. But well, now my pieces are a bit more active, and his attack is not crashing through so quickly. And the other pawn move here, g6, also seems to be fine. If he takes, trying to open a line here, I take back to the f pawn, and now this second rank here is open. I've got some defensive pieces here, so this is no particular problem, and his bishop has to drop back. So still a position that's quite playable for black if I don't blunder here. Although, that's what you do. You put your opponent under pressure. That's what white did here. They put me under pressure, and eventually I cracked. And this is the move where I cracked. So f6, he just takes it. And now I realize that taking back with the knight just loses the knight. He has queen takes knight there. So it's the fact that his queen is on that square and the rook is pinning this pawn. That combination is what I missed. So I tried rook to f7, but this doesn't help. Actually, knight f6 is the best move there, giving up a piece, because this is even worse. Let's see, I took with the pawn, and I took back. Now, there may have been better moves here, but basically everything loses. Queen g5 check. Thought maybe I would escape over here, but he just sacks on h7. And that's a good move. If I take with the king, then his queen comes in here with check. And there's a loose rook here. So taking the bishop will not help. Let's see, I tried queen to d8 to try and discourage his queen or chase it away. Just brings the queen over here to h6. I play rook to g8 check, thinking this might force some exchanges. But he has this nice move, bishop to g6, blocking the check and mating me. So well played game by white, and kind of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.